Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic.
How do you feel about Trump's proposal to increase defense spending to $1.5 trillion for 2027, a 42% jump, while cutting domestic programs by $73 billion? At what point do conservatives figure out this isn't conservatism? That's the neat thing, they don't. It's whatever they want it to be as long as their base is dumb enough to believe it. It's like the FIFA Peace Prize has lost all meaning. As depressing as the subject matter is, this comment genuinely made me laugh. I have to laugh, so I don't cry. I think it puts on display how little taking care of people can cost compared to a military-based economy paid for by taxpayers. Taking care of people, that's communism pouting. I only want my tax dollars to go to billionaires, Israel, Argentina and American defense contractors, as God intended. Listen, trickle-down Reaganomics has only had some 45 years to take effect. Yes, wealth keeps flowing upward, inflation is increasing, and jobs are harder to come by as robots and AI replace humans. But this is just short-term pain for long-term gain. Once the billionaires are becoming trillionaires, it's definitely time that they'll start giving back. He's looting the treasury, which is what people don't realize. He's moving federal and public funds into the hands of a few private companies that is somehow linked to his family through direct ownership or indirect investment. Most of us realize everything this man is doing is around money for himself, a few select. That is all this man is about. He is literally stealing from the country and he's going to get away with it. And no, midterms aren't going to change that. There's only one thing that is going to change anything at this point. Well, I think anyone with a brain could argue pretty easily that a policy that demands a preposterous 42% hike in defense spending while gutting domestic infrastructure is economically illiterate. It prioritizes authoritarian-esque military signaling over actual national strength, which to me is not a domestic strategy for prosperity. I'm of the opinion it will create fiscal instability and economic hardship on the US middle and lower classes. This, while at the same time MAGA Kool-Aid connoisseur, Marco Rubio, is on video openly criticizing Iran for spending money on their military instead of taking care of their citizens. We also have Lindsey Graham calling Trump a kook and unfit for office, followed by him saying he was tired of the press calling Trump a kook and unfit for office. First thing conservatives should complain about is increasing spending by $500 billion and offsetting that with $73 billion cuts. So that's a huge increase to both the deficit and the debt. But they won't complain because it's what Trump wants. Normal people should ask themselves, what am I getting for this increased spending on the military? More medical bankruptcies, higher gas prices, poor people and seniors starving. Why would normal non-billionaires want this? A certain song from Team America comes to mind. Freedom costs $1.05, 1.5 trillion that is. It's the end of the empire. I am amazed I get to be alive for some truly great things, but also this absolute insanity. We know about contemporary history stretching back to Rome etc., but it makes you wonder how many other empires fizzled out after 250 years. As an American, good riddance. Yep, truly deserved for all the shush tea they caused over the years around the world and got away with it. What replaces it is technofeudalism. When will people realize he will keep doing worse and worse unless he is removed? It's more than just him. He's the tooth. The infection runs deep. Fascists gonna fascism. He's also asking for an insane amount for White House decorations and Alcatraz improvements. Doesn't sound like the plans of a person expecting to move out in a few years. Doesn't sound like the plans of a person expecting to move out in a few years. I would accept him being wheeled out by a coroner after a heart attack. He doesn't have to choose to move out, and we've long known he has a diet of McDonald's. As much as justice would be served by him being prosecuted and sent to prison, with him in charge of every investigative agency, I think in practical terms that's never going to happen. My real worry is what led to him getting into office in the first place. America's oligarchs plus almost the whole media ecosphere is far-right conservative. That's why they threw billions at him to help him get into office both times. https://www.thestreet.com/politics/donald-trump-road-5-billion-in-3-media-to-138969916. We can't continue to allow blatant lies to be protected free speech anymore. The difference between a trillion and a billion is about a trillion. Conservative values, in 2016, small government. Freedom of speech, fiscal responsibility, low debt, support for veterans, law and order, US first, non-intervention foreign policy. Conservative values, in 2026, ICE murdering citizens and internment camp rapes are necessary cause reasons. You can say that is woke. LUL what debt ceiling, inflation go burr. I like veterans who don't get caught or need houses or medical care. Stop talking about Epstein and child rapists. The Dow is at ~50k. 49k, 48k, 47, ~46k. We need to cut US healthcare, education, infrastructure and social programs to bomb elementary schools for Israel, or they'd have to cut the universal healthcare. All of these 2016 values are nothing but memes, and always have been since I have been politically aware anyway. Ask a conservative to define small government, and they have as much trouble doing that as they do defining woke. You forgot, 2016, don't tread on me 2026, comply or die. I will say as a conservative myself, who can't support what Trump is doing, and didn't vote for him in 2020 or 2024, I am seeing a bit of an awakening over the last month with the war in Iran and seeing this budget proposal. I doubt it will amount to anything, but in the last month I've seen a change in the various conservative groups I monitor. So, maybe this will open some eyes. Even though I am conservative, I hope the midterms are a bloodbath and send a message to the idiots in Washington that licking Trump's asshole is hurting them. Idiotic move that shows Trump isn't the president of peace his Brian dead followers claimed him to be, and shows his true hatred and loathing for anyone that isn't rich. America first, or something. Remember, Hitler's Germany, Germany above all, and Trump's America first has exactly the same message. Putting your country first, with no regards to allies, friends, etc. Edit, yes, obviously it was never about actually putting the country first. Just like it wasn't for Hitler. I guess they sat around a room and were like, do we need medicine for the sick or education so the young grow up to get jobs? No, and went on, so what do we really lack? Put their heads together and decided, more war. Yes, there's a total shortage of war. I can think of a lot of things 500B would do in this world. Possible AI slop answer, total federal R&D, proposed at $181.4 billion for FY 2026. Imagine what cures for cancer or new tech or understanding could be discovered. A zero-debt program, debt-free, would cost $75 billion in its first year. Source, https://educationdata.org/how-much-would-free-college-cost. They actually could stop thinking about relocating to another planet in the solar system if they focused on fixing up, instead of destroying, this planet. We need to stop prioritizing profits and capitalism. It's become a cancer with no self-awareness. Economies should instead be treated like the circulatory system. Anything taking up too much blood flow is a tumor and needs to be excised, or a bleed and needs to be fixed. Anything not circulating the blood flow to all extremities needs to be seen as leak, cut, bullet wound that needs to be fixed. They sat around a room and said, okay, how else can we squeeze every last cent out of this miserable fucking shithole of a country before the presidency is over? Quote. The saying, an empire is never conquered from without until it has destroyed itself from within, comes to mind here. The time to do something about the permanent war economy was back in 1975, when we finally got out of Vietnam. Instead, a short 5 years later we voted in Ronald Reagan and the road to Trump and today's sick society was set in stone. Growing up in the South, you'd think Reagan was God's chosen, but I think you're right. That man represents an inflection point that paved a path towards where we are now. https://u2.be/g95 failo C equals _8 serve2. Yeah, that trajectory makes a lot of sense. The post-Vietnam moment could have been a real pivot toward reducing militarization and re-evaluating priorities, but instead policies and politics swung toward increased defense spending, deregulation, and cults of personality. That set a path where short-term victories and flashy rhetoric often outweighed long-term societal stability, kind of a domino effect that eventually contributed to the political landscape we see today. Nixon should have gone to jail, too. Not holding him accountable emboldened the Reagan administration to do some shady things. If you rename it to the Department of War and put Secretary of War in place. It's not a defense budget, it's an aggression budget. It's a budget to aid the military wage more war, not defend against. Department of War crimes more like. Yeah, he fucking hates us, every single one. Sadistic, warped, lonely childhood. See, this should teach us how important it is to pay attention to our children. They could grow up like him, grimace. Nothing says, America first, like giving all our money to the military-industrial complex so the elites get richer, while cutting much-needed programs that benefit Americans. It's exactly what I would expect from him. He has never represented US citizens' interests. Somehow, 1/3 of the country doesn't see it. Their hate of liberals is far more important than their love for their family and children. $1.5 trillion is 20x more than $73 billion, so the cuts are pointless other than to harm people and destroy our economy. The debt from this war is going to harm future generations. Since the Epstein class apparently isn't really taxed, this is all on the middle class. They'll be long dead by then, so they don't give a shit. They're talking about such large sums of money that they are banking on the idea people without critical thinking skills won't question the difference. Republicans have been saying for years that the debt was already too much and was crushing future generations. So now they are totally okay with Trump adding trillions more to it. Republicans deeply care about the debt until the moment a Republican president is elected. At that point they pretend to have never heard of fiscal responsibility. The list of cut programs will crush rural America. Farm subsidies and broadband financing is nearly eliminated. Red states should be screaming.